lean on us.
We are here for you.
You matter.
You are not alone.
Are you feeling overwhelmed? Not sure where to turn? The National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there for you 24/7. Call or text 988 or chat at 988sc.org. Whether you're having an emergency or you know someone who needs support now, they can help you take the next step towards finding hope and healing.
There is hope. 988sc.org.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey everyone, it's Jim Chapman with Local Leaders, the podcast, and I want to make you aware of a fantastic deal they have going on right now at Fit Body Boot Camp in Denham Springs, Louisiana. If you go to the link getfitdenhamsprings.com/local leaders, you can get $30 off of the regular price of $129 for 30 days of classes. Go to the link, click it, sign up. 30-day classes for only $99 through that link. It's a special deal offered to all of our listeners at Local Leaders, the podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders, the podcast. I'm Jim Chapman, and sitting across from me today is the world's greatest painter. She is Miss Stephanie Berthelot. She owns SR Enterprise. So how are you, Miss Stephanie?
I am awesome, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. This is actually your second appearance, but your first inside this studio, right?
Yes, in the new studio.
That's right. We were in with McHugh David at the Livingston Parish News last time we talked, and we covered all the things you do. Kind of touched on a little bit of the more decorative side of what you do, and a lot on the just general painting side. So we're going to kind of flip that today. We're going to talk more about the decorative stuff you do. And maybe just touch on the, the general painting, rolling sheetrock walls thing. And as people may notice, I don't have a script in front of me. So I must know a little bit about painting. One of the things, just a little, just 25 years of knowledge.
Yeah.
So for those of you that may or may not be aware, at one point I was a sales rep for a regional paint company, and Stephanie was one of my customers, and so I kind of know her pretty well. So I'm like, man, I don't even need to script this. So off we go, and I guess the first question I would have is, obviously things have happened since last time we talked. COVID really reared its ugly head since then, and oddly enough, the paint business got busier, right?
Very, yeah.
So kind of tell me about that. What did you expect when COVID really set in, and what did you get as far as business was concerned? Like, was it a surprise to you?
It was. I was actually expecting to be just like the rest of the world, shut down.
Yeah.
But when everybody was stuck at home, my phone started ringing off the hook, because they're home. They can get these home projects done.
Yeah, and they started noticing
a lot
things.
More phone calls, yes.
Yeah, I can remember I was still, selling paint back then, and we didn't know. Is this going to be a, something that it was going to be tumbleweeds, or was this going to be we can't keep the paint in stock? It ended up being the latter. For many different reasons, one of them being supply chain issues, but It was really just insane business.
Yes.
Some people chose, they had that time to kind of do it themselves, and so they would say, well, I'm at home anyway, and I can finally get this done. But painting's a special beast because either you love it or you hate it. There's no in between, right?
Correct.
So obviously you're the person that people reach out to and call when they hate it or when they don't have time to do it, or they don't want to fool with it, or they actually want it done right, because painting's an intricate thing. It's not as easy as just loading a roller, right? And rolling a wall. So kind of take us through the intricacies of what you do with painting.
Well, there's so much more to painting than just holding a paintbrush and putting paint on the walls. The prep work is the majority of the job. If you do not have a good prep job, your paint job is still going to look bad.
Right.
No matter if it's good paint, the best paint you can buy, the prep is everything when it comes to painting.
100%. And from a paint manufacturer standpoint, if it's not prepped right, they don't stand behind it.
Correct.
So, a lot of people talk about priming, and do I have to prime this? And well, you don't technically have to in some cases, but if there's a failure somewhere and the paint company comes out there and they say, it wasn't primed.
Exactly.
Can't stand behind it when you skip a step, right?
That's right.
So that's where I would see a lot of painters kind of fall short. Stephanie doesn't skip steps. She probably adds more steps than need to be added in a lot of cases. You might have 9 coats on your wall. But really, how long have you been painting?
Oh my gosh. Probably 30 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Give or take a year there, probably.
Yeah. And how did you get started?
Oh, I started doing this when I was in high school as a part-time job after school. And once I graduated, I did it for a couple of years and went to nursing school. And after about 2 years of nursing, I came right back into painting.
Just fell in love with it, right?
I did. I love what I do.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I also like to paint. I'm nowhere near as good as Stephanie, not even close. I enjoy painting just furniture and things like that, but I do it more for therapeutic reasons, not for any sort of money or anything. To my wife's, utter aggravation, we have a lot of furniture at our house that's painted. We've got like 200 chairs and 1 table. But I do it more for therapeutic reasons, and it just relaxes me. But on the other side of that, there's people that they don't want to light up a brush and do anything. They want to call someone like SR Enterprise Painting and have them do it for them, which is the service in which you provide. What we want to impress on today is, yes, Stephanie, she'll paint all your sheetrock and she'll paint your trim and your doors and all these things, but there's a lot of talent that you have outside of that. And Chick is talented. Trust me, people. She's really good at what she does. I've known her a long time. I constantly referred Stephanie for things, which when you're in my business and you're a paint sales rep, you know all the painters. So you know who does the good work, you know who does the work, and who you can trust to have in a house. And when you refer somebody, that you're standing behind that person's name. So Stephanie was someone I referred on almost every job that came up. With no hesitation, and you've done a lot of those jobs.
Yes.
And I've always gotten rave, reviews afterwards of, man, Stephanie did a great job. And when people go out of their way to tell me that and take time out to do that means you made a good impression, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the decorative stuff. And the first thing we're going to talk about is wallpaper. Wallpaper's a crazy thing.
It is.
It was in style for years. Mm-hmm. And, people know they had the old 70s houses and even prior to that, and they had wallpaper on them. And then it kind of went out of style for a little while.
Yes.
But it's back, right?
It is. It's back with a vengeance.
It's
because
crazy.
There's so much more than wallpaper. It's wall coverings. They have vinyls. They have peel and sticks. They have the grass cloth. They have, you can send the company a picture and they will make a mural for you to put on the wall as wallpaper.
Yeah.
With words,
really?
Anything. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, give you ideas.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you are kind of a master at that. You're really good. What made you good at wallpaper? I mean, I'm sure there was a point you were like, I don't know how to do wallpaper.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was just everyone's different. Every wallpaper job is different. So you take the time, you read the instructions. Some of them you have to flip every other one.
Well, that's where you lost me. I never read instructions.
You've got to read.
I'm the guy with leftover screws every time I build something, and I'm like, why do I have 4 extra like screws? But that's just me. Anyway, proceed.
But when you read the instructions for the wallpaper, everyone has its own way of hanging. Some of them you put the glue on the wall, other ones you put the glue on the paper. Some of them you have to let sit for a few minutes, other ones you just hang. So you follow the instructions, and if you can wrap a present, you can do wallpaper. Knowing how to just line your seams up.
Yeah, I can't do wallpaper then. That's what that tells me. If y'all have ever seen my presents, trust me, I can't do wallpaper. Now, it sounds like it would take a lot of patience.
It does. It does take a lot of patience and a keen eye, because you have to, a lot of your patterns, you have that repeat. You have to line them up perfectly.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm. Those are hard ones to do, huh?
Oh, yes. When you have a repeat pattern, it's got to be perfect.
Wow. And let me tell y'all, it's not easy to find a painter that can do wallpaper. There are very few.
Yep.
It's hard to find wallpaper in a lot of places these days. But Stephanie she does an amazing job at it. And while we're doing this podcast, I'm gonna have pictures pop up of some of the things we're talking about. So in this case, hopefully right now, and I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be neat because it's gonna be pointing at wallpaper by the time I'm done. So we'll show some of those jobs on there. But wallpaper is something that is coming back. It's coming back in a big way. Are there particular areas of the house that people are wallpapering, like a bathroom specifically, or is
mostly
it
what I'm seeing is accent walls.
Really?
Kitchen and baths are still getting wallpapered, yes, but a lot of accent walls for bedrooms.
That's a good idea.
Or a living room.
Yeah.
People like that stone look. They'll just do a wallpaper for their TV wall.
That's interesting. What about brick? Like if you wanted a brick look.
Yeah, do that.
Does it look real?
Yes, it does
Really?
look real. Yes.
Really?
Most of the time, though, it's a smooth surface, so it's not going to have that rough texture look.
Interesting. Huh. Interesting stuff. So wallpaper, you got that. You need that service. Stephanie can certainly take care of you. And Sondra Richard has been in the business of selling homes for over 20 years. This award-winning realtor brings the perfect blend of professionalism, integrity, and client satisfaction to every buying and selling transaction. A passion for both her clients and her community makes Sondra the perfect choice when buying or selling your home. So if you're in need, call the Cajun Lady, Sondra Richard, at 225-955-5484, or visit her on the web at sondrasellshouses.com. Sondra Richard, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. We just talked about brick, and that kind of leads me into our next segment of what we're going to talk about, and that is that you can do, I don't know how would you say this, but you can make someone's sheetrock look like brick.
Exactly.
What would you call that? Is there a word for that?
I don't think so, really.
Other than cool?
Yeah, cool. It's awesome. It'll look and feel like brick, but without
it's almost like it's artistic painting, I guess you could say. But she can literally take, and I'm telling y'all, she's going to send me some pictures that I'm going to put up here, and you'll see them. But she can literally take a sheetrock wall and paint it to where it looks like brick.
Yeah.
And you would think, unless you were touching it, that it was brick.
Correct.
Wow.
Or even when you touch it, it's got a rough feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it smooth, or I can have it textured.
So that process, give me some ideas of some projects you've done. I know you've done it where it looks like brick, but what else have you done?
I've also made it look like wood.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like the wood slats?
Yeah, like wood slats, and done it to where it even has a grain in it.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a simple process to do, but it takes steps, little baby steps.
Yeah, and it looks real, don't it?
Oh yeah, it looks real. It feels real. People won't know it's not real unless somebody tells them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
awesome.
And yeah, it really is. And I've seen pictures of these particular things that she does. And this is, again, another separator with using SR Enterprises. Yes, they can paint, whatever you want painted. But when you get into this specialty stuff, it's hard to find people that can do it. Then it's hard to find people that are reasonable that can do it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's obviously going to be a higher cost than a regular paint job because of the time involved and the intricacy. And hey, there's a talent there that she had to learn. She didn't just have it naturally, although some of that's probably just natural talent. Which leads me to something else that you do, and that is you actually do like painting.
Yes.
Like real painting, artist paintings, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, Steph, you were born to paint, right?
I didn't start doing that until 2016.
You're kidding?
Nope.
I never knew that.
I came across it by accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me that story.
I was actually in New York visiting my family, my sister up there, and we decided to have a, paint party, painting with a twist. So we had our wine. And
that's basically where women get together and drink.
Well, yes.
They call it paint parties.
And I painted a picture, and I just, I followed the directions that the lady, it was a tutorial online, and oh my God, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So I got home, and I got to thinking, well, what else could I do?
Yeah.
So I watched a couple of tutorials on, how to paint clouds and things like that, and just kind of took off from there. Now I pretty much do it all on my own. I don't even watch tutorials anymore.
Dang. And do you freehand this stuff?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive. And I mean, I'm telling y'all, I've seen give me an idea of some of the pictures you've done.
Oh my gosh. Well, my favorite stuff to do is the Louisiana scenes.
Sure.
Anything Louisiana. I love doing. I've done a couple of swamp scenes. I've done LSU stuff. Of course, I've done a couple of Christmas things. I like doing Mr. Bingle.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, that's a New Orleans thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our age group right there.
Right.
I used to have a Mr. Bingle when I was a kid.
Oh, I love this story of Mr. Bingle. So.
Yeah. You could go to like Gotchall's or somewhere and you could get the actual stuffed animal that was flying. Yeah, I remember that. So you can basically do the artistic pictures as well, basically, and really make those look good. And then back to like the architectural painting side of things. You also can do faux finishing.
Yep.
So tell me kind of what faux finishing is.
Well, there's a couple of different forms of it. The most popular one is your antiquing, giving it that aged look without it being aged.
Right.
That's the most popular, but people still like the crackle, cracked look and glazing. So pretty much I've done just about all of those. Most of the time, if somebody shows me a picture of what they're looking for, I can go with that direction.
It's funny. Many years ago, I went on a job site and I heard pow, pow, pow. It sounded like someone was beating the heck out of somebody. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go in this house. But I went ahead and went in there, and sometimes us as paint salesmen, we'll just stop at jobs. We'll see a van with a ladder, and we're like, oh, we don't know who that painter is. And we'll go in there and talk to him. And there was some racket going on in a room back there, and I walked back there. It was a lady, and she had a chain, and she was beating the hell out of this cabinet. I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I'd never seen this, and I'm thinking, man, she's mad at that cabinet, and just beating it with this chain. And I said, ma'am. And she stopped, and she turned around. She said, oh, hey. And I introduced myself, and I said, what are you doing? And she says, well, I'm decorating this or faux finishing it or whatever. Yep. Yeah, and I'm thinking, this is going to look horrible. Well, I mean, I'll say, she finished up, and I actually went back by that job, and it looked great.
Yep. And
I was like, who would have known? Basically brand new cabinet. She just beat the crap out of it, and it come out looking nice. So there's so many different things. Back when I first started in the paint business in the late 90s, there was rollers that were made of leather, and they were called leather rollers, and they would roll a texture into into a wall, and this was a form of faux finishing. And now you can't find leather rollers
I
hardly
have one.
anywhere. Do you really?
I do.
Probably been having it since the 90s, huh?
Yeah.
So you take care of your stuff.
I do.
You clean out your rollers, Stephanie, I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an inside joke, but a lot of painters don't. Anyway, so yeah, that was a form of faux finishing. And the interesting thing about faux finishing is there is no like perfect technique. It's really all up to the individual painter. Everybody has kind of their own way of doing it, but there's so many things you can do with it.
Right.
One of the things that's interesting with what you do is you're kind of a master of sheetrock mud too, which is a big part of faux finishing. I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of times they'll mix the mud and the paint together and they'll roll textures into a wall or something like that. How did you get in? I mean, I would imagine the sheetrock side of what you do has always kind of been a part of painting. But there's a lot of painters that don't know how to do sheetrock.
Yeah.
You know, a lot. And it shows in their work, because once you slap paint on, as you know, on top of sheetrock seams, they're going to show if you didn't sand them enough or something, right?
Yep.
And it's not the paint's fault, as they like to blame it on, is it?
No.
Oh, you can see right through it. The paint's too transparent.
Right.
No,
Right.
That's not what it is.
Well, I mean, to me, the sheetrock goes hand in hand with the painting. You know, most of the time, I'm not getting a phone call just to paint a room. There's some damage somewhere along the line that, you know, doorknob through a wall, or, you know, just a bunch of nail holes, and they're putting the house on the market and they want it filled in.
Yes.
So I kind of had to learn the sheetrock to go with the painting.
Yeah, 100%. And exactly, because then you're turning away work to somebody else. And plus, you probably, as weird as it sounds, like doing sheetrock. And look, sheetrock is tough, even for somebody. I can't do sheetrock. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, that's something I cannot do. It's hard for me to patch things properly, which is actually a very hard thing to do.
It is, yes.
But you talk like floating seams, and I'm like, that's, you know, I hire Stephanie to do that. I ain't messing with no seams, because you can really mess up the whole job if you don't know what you're doing. So another thing to note is, yes, they do sheetrock. Greenleaf Charcuterie boards offer stunning charcuterie arrangements perfect for your special event, and provides delivery for a hassle-free order experience. Their unique, wide variety of charcuterie boards are like no other. From your traditional charcuterie board to the Chantilly dessert board to the Cajun board, they've got something for everybody. And ladies, Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so if you're looking for gift ideas, they've got an amazing prime filet steak board. And fellas, don't forget about their Valentine's board for your sweetheart. For more information or to visit them on the web, go to greenleafcharcuterieboards.com. Greenleaf Charcuterie Boards is a proud local sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Patches.
Yes.
Let's talk about patches for a minute. Something you do?
Yes.
Those are good jobs.
Oh, yes. Most of them can be done in one day,
Yeah.
depending on the amount of patches.
Yeah.
Step throughs.
Yeah.
Take care of those too.
Yeah. You see those a lot in the holidays.
Yeah.
People going up in the attic, pulling down, Christmas decorations, and the next thing you know, the foot's through the ceiling.
Yep.
It's something I've never done.
better
25
knock
years
on
I've
wood.
never done. I know. I can't believe. I would be the first one to step through a ceiling. Never. I've always been good at balancing on them stupid little beams.
Boy, it's only that big.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like holding on at the top
Right.
and I'm walking like this. Spider-Man. Yeah, but you do see a lot of those.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And the good thing about Stephanie, she also has people that she works with that do other things. So she's good at referrals. She just has a vast network that she can
Yes.
kind of pull from. So if you do a step through and you have, like, say, a water issue or something like that, she can call one of her restoration friends, and they can come in and definitely assess, like if there's a mold issue or something like that. If you got stains, people get those water stains and they're like, oh, got a slow roof leak. She has a network of people she can pull from for that, not just restoration, but in all kinds of different fields, even the podcast field. If someone needed that, so that's another good thing about dealing with Stephanie is that even if she doesn't do it, there's a good chance she knows someone that does. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what about like light carpentry work?
Yeah, I can do light carpentry work.
Trim?
Yes.
Hanging doors?
No, that I refer out to a carpenter.
Yeah. Nobody, even they don't like to do that.
Yes, exactly.
What's interesting, in the flood of 2016, if you'll remember at one point, doors came with the trim on one side of them.
Right.
And you would just slide it in and nail up the door and then nail up the trim and boom. But after the flood of 2016, the trim didn't come on the door.
Right.
It never came back. I don't know if it comes on the door now or not, but I don't think it ever came back after that. Isn't that interesting?
It is. I don't know why.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
I had a feeling back then. I'm like, it's the new normal. It'll never come back with trim on it.
Right.
Yeah. So just a total side note out of nowhere, but something that I just thought about was something that totally changed that I don't think ever came back. Now,
a lot of people. And if I had a guess, this would be my guess, a lot of people aren't going with that style of trim anymore. I'm seeing a lot more of the farm style look, just a straight, clean, 1x4 lines with a header on it.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot more of that than the whole decorative round trim.
100%. And then a lot of people went with farm doors after the flood, right? Especially these houses that have been around since the late 70s, like mine was. The farm style doors that slide, right, versus opening, that was huge after the flood. And I still think it's a neat thing.
Oh, I love it.
Especially for small houses.
Yeah.
You ain't got that swing and all of that. And it just looks nice. But is that something y'all would do or you don't want to mess with that?
No, that's something, hang those doors, I would definitely refer that to a carpenter.
Yeah.
Just because there's a little bit more to it than what I do,
right,
as far as that goes. And you want it hung right.
Yeah, that's right. And
some of those are pretty heavy.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's no doubt about that. So moving on from there, another thing you do that is pretty interesting is you do, I guess you call it logos and mural.
Yes.
What would you call it when you do the logos? What is that?
Just a logo.
Logo work?
Yeah, logo work.
Okay,
yeah.
so she...
well, it is a mural. It's a form of a mural because it's not just a small logo. It's huge.
Yeah, but when I think of murals, I think of a whole...
Right.
Like a Mexican restaurant, let's say, with the Aztec scene in the background. Right. So with what I want to separate in people's mind is, let's say you had a business and, let's throw local leaders in there. Let's say I said, hey, Stephanie, I love my logo and I think it would look cool on one of my accent walls. Is that something you could come in and actually paint?
Yes.
Tell me how that process works.
Well, I have a projector, so I take your logo and I project it onto the wall. And I design it out on the wall. I'll trace it out, and then I'll just paint it in. Wow! So it can be as big as small as you like it to be, because the projector can go.
You just pull it out.
Yeah, really wide. Yeah.
Like when we were in school.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and teacher would have the projector stacked on. Remember, they'd stack the books underneath.
Yes, that's really old.
It'd be like half on and half off the thing, and we're like, yeah, I remember those days. But yeah, so you can have. Is that something you have done pretty often?
Oh yes, I've done several of those.
Give me an example of some jobs you've done.
Let's see. I've done one for the Frost Falcons when you walk into the gym.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
That was for the school. I loved doing that one. It was just, they had the red brick already there. Yeah. And they just didn't know what to do with it. So it used to be a trophy case, but they had taken everything down, so it was just what to do with these bricks.
Oh, so you did it over the bricks.
So I did it over the bricks. Cool. Yeah, with center blocks.
Wow. You got a picture of that?
I do.
Oh, send that to me, and we'll make it pop up. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, and a good point you bring up, and that is schools, things like
Yes.
that like these logos, whether it's on a stadium. Denham Springs High School, they've got a lot of brick on the outside, right in the front of their stadium. Be kind of cool to have the big, yellow jacket.
Absolutely,
right
absolutely. And that's not something you can just, get a vinyl printed and stuck on it. You're on brick or you're on center block, you have trouble with things sticking on it, so it has to be painted.
Yeah, and especially if it's exterior.
Absolutely.
Vinyl is not going to last very
no.
long at all exterior. But you bring up an amazing point, which is when you take a vinyl sticker, I guess you could call it, and you put that on the outside or even on the inside, you try to get it to stick to brick. Good luck with that.
Right.
Stick for a little while, and it's going to peel off.
Oh,
I mean, the efflorescence in the brick is just going to pop it off eventually.
Exactly.
See, y'all, I know some stuff about brick. Dealt with a lot of issues with brick over the years. So, speaking of that, brick used to be just brick, right? Back in the day.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Attention car shoppers. Right now at South Carolina Federal Credit Union, you can get a new or used auto loan and pay nothing until 2024. And no payments for 90 days means nothing out of pocket going into the new year. Plus, we have flexible rates and terms, so you could make the best financial choice for you. Learn more at scfederal.org/auto loans. That's scfederal.org/auto loans. Certain restrictions apply. Existing South Carolina Federal credit loans are excluded.
You would pick out a certain color brick for your home, whether it's old Chicago or whatever, however it looks, and you go with it, and it was part of your house, and then people started painting brick. It became extremely popular.
Yes.
Which made my heart happy because I think there are distinct advantages to painting brick outside of just the awesome look of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, and that is at my home after the flood. Of course, anybody that went through this can speak on it. There was a line, and that was your line of how high you flooded. As a matter of fact, when the FEMA guy got to my house, they wanted proof of everything. And I mean, I was down to sticks, and all my stuff's in the front yard a mile high. And I'm like, here's your proof.
Right.
And he knew that, but he said, well, I'm trying to figure out exactly how high the water went. And I said, go look at the line. So I had a black line all around my brick. I had just over 5 feet in my house. So it was a pretty tall line. And so, he took a measuring thing, measured it out. But the problem was I pressure washed that brick like 3 times. That line wasn't going nowhere.
Nope.
So Jim said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint the freaking brick. And I painted it. Let me tell you, new house.
Yeah, it looks great.
New house on the block. Yep. It was beautiful. So how popular is that now? Fit Blendz of Denham Springs can help you with everything from meal prep to supplements. I love it that they serve breakfast all day in addition to the best ultra healthy wraps you can really get anywhere in Livingston Parish. They are home of the $5 Smoothie Friday and are an amazing sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Fit Blendz Denham Springs, fast, fit food for you.
It is definitely becoming popular. I've painted brand new brick just because it came in the wrong color and didn't match the house, so they wanted it painted.
Sure.
Of course, there's a special paint to use for your brick masonry work, but, if done right, it'll last you forever.
It will. And Stephanie obviously paints brick. She'd
Yes.
love to paint your brick, as a matter of fact. One of her favorite things is painting brick. So, but let me tell people out there that may be debating that, the advantages. So number one, mortar over time, degrades. What this causes is weep holes in your brick. When you get weep holes in your brick, those little insects, that's how they get in your house. And so if you'll notice, your pest guy, if he's a good pest guy, he goes out there and he throws this dust in the weep holes, the big weep holes that the insects can get in. And that is to stop them from getting in your house. It's like a deterrent. But when you paint it, you seal those weep holes up, and they're not going to, once they're sealed, they're sealed. That paint's not going to degrade. It will, it's pretty much your house is freaking tight at that point. Nothing can get in there.
Right.
So that's one advantage to it. The other advantage is it keeps out wind-driven rain. So every time it rains and it's windy, that rain is then slapping into your brick. Do that over time, many years, that also degrades your brick. So it will basically serve as almost a repellent for wind-driven rain, which is a big deal. Third of all, it's pleasing to the eye. It looks really nice. Certain brick is pretty and you don't want to mess with. And I've seen some like that I'm like, I wouldn't paint that.
Right.
But in majority of cases, the painting of your brick will really give you a lot of advantages you'll never get out of regular brick. Because every time brick is going to degrade. Yes, it takes a while, but it will degrade. You will have problems at some point painting it. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. At least in my opinion. That's a total opinion thing. But obviously a lot of people share it. Go drive through a new neighborhood right now and count the houses that have painted brick.
Yep.
Some of them, it's every house.
Every house, yeah.
Yeah. So something that y'all definitely do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And there's steps to that. You need to prime that brick properly and use the right primer and then use the right top coats. And what that's going to do is there's certain primers that hold up to efflorescence and there's certain primers that do not.
Right.
And if you use the wrong one, that paint's going to pop right off of there.
Exactly.
Another issue that I see with that is the roof does not have enough clearance. In South Louisiana, it's amazing. We don't use enough gutter systems on our houses.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
And the problem becomes, I find some builders, they build these houses with these steep roofs, man. They're, you can almost ski down them.
Yeah.
And there's a very little clearance between the eave and where, say, the brick starts. Then they paint the brick. And basically you have water running off of that roof onto the brick. And over about 8 months' time of a brand new house, it's going to work its way behind the paint film.
Yep.
And they want to blame the painter. It's not the painter.
No.
It's water.
Yeah.
And the only way you can solve that problem is to put up a gutter system. And once you put up a gutter system, it's going to basically funnel all that water off of the brick. And you know how that works. But I cannot tell you the amount of times I looked at that issue. And, and I always told people, I'm like, well, you got a roof with a 90-degree angle and all that water's running right here. And what happens is that water's going to find a seam eventually.
Yeah.
It's going to find a little part.
It's going to go somewhere.
And once it works in there, it bubbles. It gets in that brick and it bubbles that surface. And the way you know is you go pop that bubble and water pours out. And that's obviously the culprit. So you got one of two problems. Either it's running off of your roof or you got moisture on the inside of your house working its way out.
Working its way out, yep.
Sometimes when people run that air conditioner too cold, that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Make the inside walls damp and then that moisture pulls out. So there's a little education for you that I'm not going to charge you for. But the point of all of that is if you have a painter that kind of knows what they're doing and they know the correct products to use, it would alleviate a lot of that issue. But all of that being said, get a gutter system if you have a steep roof.
Oh, yeah.
What a lot of problems, right?
Ooh.
Do you do gutter systems?
No, I don't do gutter systems.
No gutter systems.
No.
Don't call Stephanie. Call Stephanie when you're ready to paint it after the gutter system.
Right.
But not before. Now, Let me ask you this. Do you see a lot of, I know one thing that seems like it's really popular right now is the brick columns on the inside of houses with the wood, the wood, what do you call it?
Beams.
Beams. Yeah, thank you. Beam. That's the word.
The word.
Beam. With the wood beams. So another thing that you do that we need to mention is you do stain work.
Yes.
And woodwork.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Oh, that's just a passion. I love woodwork.
Yeah.
Be it cabinets, doors, furniture, beams. I love the look, the richness of the wood look. So it's something that I self-taught there, just something that I love to do. I love doing projects for myself and other people too. It's a project to me, even though it's a job. It's a paying job for me. It's a project, and like you said, it's kind of like a stress reliever.
Right. So it's something you would do for free if you had to.
No, sorry, for myself. Yeah, maybe.
Tried, yeah, that's right. But do you see a lot of that? A lot of the beams are coming back and all these things, and people are wanting those exposed and just kind of maybe in some cases just varnished.
Yes.
Yeah.
The beams are definitely the rough cut beams are coming back in style, and that classic look. Yeah. Farm look, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be called. It's just exposed beams, and people are putting fake beams in just to have that look in their house.
No kidding.
Yes.
I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, interesting. And you want to protect those, I would imagine. Well, how would you recommend people protect those?
Oh, definitely has to be polyurethane.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I like using the spar poly. Be it if it's inside or outside, doesn't matter to me. I use the spar poly because it gives you more protection than regular polyurethane does.
Very good. Very good. And let's say let's get into doors a little bit. So one thing you and I both know in South Louisiana that's a problem anywhere really, but it seems very prevalent here, is they have two colored doors, meaning that the top half is like almost white and the bottom half is the same color it was 20 years ago.
Right.
And we know that that's caused by the sun rising and just beating on that door all day. And people let it go too long, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a maintenance.
Yeah. So when it gets to that point, is that something you can do?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How hard is it to match that and blend that stain?
For the most part, it really depends on how often it's maintained. It's easier to maintain it than it is to completely redo it. Most of the time, when you come across that situation, you have to redo the entire door. There is no... Which
means you have to do what?
Sand.
A lot of
strip, sand.
Yeah. It's a whole door.
Recondition the wood, stain, poly. Just straight bring it all back down to raw wood and do it all over
basically
again.
How it was from the start.
Exactly.
And so obviously the expense becomes a lot harder to absorb. It's just a more expensive process. I used to tell people get a painter that'll come out to your house once every spring and just roll a fresh coat of poly on there.
Absolutely. It's much easier to do that than it is to redo the entire door.
It's a maintenance thing.
Yeah.
It's just like anything else that you have. I tell people you need to pressure wash your house once a year. You need to, if you have those doors, you need to put a fresh coat of polyurethane on there once a year. If you do that and you keep up with it, you're not going to have problems. But if you wait 5 years and you're like, oh man, my door looks horrible. It's all dilapidated at the top. And look, the bottom looks great, but the top, and I don't understand that. And this is a crappy gallon of polyurethane I got. And then you call someone like me out there and I'm going to say that lasted 5 years. And you got some life out of that.
Right.
Very good. But you should have just put a fresh coat on there once a year. The same thing with pressure washing your house. That's something that you can't wait 3 years and then say, I've got mold on my house, something's wrong with the paint.
Right.
You're in South Louisiana. You're in a rainforest.
Yeah.
It is never dry here, ever. Even when the sun is shining and it's beautiful, it's typically humid.
Right.
So there's moisture in the air. This causes mold spores to grow, and those mold spores over time, they attach to paint. It's a food source. The minerals inside of paint are a food source for mold. And so they just sit there and they eat at it. And over time, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so if you don't wash your house once a year, you're going to have a problem over time. But that being said, do you pressure wash? BJ Pawn and Gun in Denham Springs wants to buy your unwanted gold jewelry, gold coins, and gold bullion. With 30 years of experience operating in the Livingston Parish area, BJ Pawn wants to be your source when selling your gold. So stop by BJ Pawn today for a no-obligation offer. BJ Pawn, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast.
I do.
Okay.
I generally pressure wash for houses that I'm going to paint. So if it's a maintenance issue, as far as just, hey, I just need my house washed and we're done for another year, I have somebody I refer that to because that's what he does on, for a living period. Yeah. I pressure wash for homes that I'm going to paint.
Yeah. So if you're someone and let's say your exterior needs to be repainted, don't go call a pressure washer and then I want to get it pressure washed first and then get Stephanie out there. Stephanie can come out there and do both. Right. She don't mind doing that. She just pressure washing is not her full-time gig, so she don't want to go out there just to pressure wash. Right. But if you're going to go ahead and paint the house anyway, she'll pressure wash it and just include that in the bid. Absolutely. I would imagine.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking into possibly doing some exterior painting. And let's talk exterior painting real quick. We mentioned this earlier, but South Louisiana is not paint friendly by any means. You go to folks, if you go to like Iowa and you're a painter, Idaho, the Idaho painter. Okay, great painter, by the way, but he has it easy. I want the Idaho painter to come to South Louisiana for about a year. Oh, yeah. Totally different market as far as the ability of the paint to hold up to conditions. One of the reasons for my former employer that I worked for many years, one of the things that I pushed the most was the fact that they produced their paint in the South. Right. It wasn't up north. Their plants weren't up north. They were in the same conditions in Memphis, Tennessee, where they're from, that we are here. So that's why their paint performs so good on the outside. It's not because these other companies just want to be hard-headed. It's because we know what it takes, or they know what it takes now. I keep saying we. They know what it takes for that paint to perform in outside conditions. Yeah. And so it doesn't mold like a lot of people's paint does. It doesn't mildew like a lot of people's, and it holds up a lot better. It is the paint that Stephanie uses. And so that's another thing to mention with you.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
You don't cut corners on materials, right?
No. I use top of the line paint, especially for my exteriors. If you want a job that's going to last 5 years, you're going to get the cheap paint. But if you want a job that's going to last as long as the home, you use good paint on the outside.
Yeah, you really do. And look, cheap paint won't even last 5 years. No, she's being kind.
I am. I'm being very kind.
Cheap paint, you're lucky to get a couple years outside around here. And the reason for that is just what we said earlier. You're in a rainforest. Really, paint there, unless you use 100% acrylic exterior paint that is really well made, really good, the chances of you having issues, be it mold, be it adherence, those coverage, those sorts of things, is probably quadrupled.
Right.
And this is from someone that's been, she's been painting for nearly 30 years. I was an outside sales rep for 25, and I'm telling you, I've seen it all. She's seen it all. And if you want it to hold up, you better use a dang good paint. And you're going to pay a little more for that. I mean, but Stephanie wouldn't do an outside job without it. Someone told you to use, we're not going to name names, but if someone told you to use a crappy paint that you knew was a crappy paint on the outside and then said, warrant it for me.
Nope. I won't warranty it.
Right. And that's when you know you're dealing with a good painter. Just do your research as someone, as if you were purchasing the paint. Go online. Online's a good thing sometimes. Go online and kind of read those data sheets and make sure that paint is the proper paint. Because if someone gives you a bid, okay, and Stephanie will agree with this 100%. If you get a bid for a paint job, and let's say you had 2 bids, one of them was what you would consider, say, high. The other one was insanely low. There's probably something wrong with the insanely low bid.
Right.
Now, doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't say do a good job, but maybe they're using a crappy paint.
Right.
Material is probably 50% of the cost, 30% of the cost. So
easily.
It's easy to cut corners with material to beat a bid. Mm-hmm. Stephanie don't do that.
No.
She uses top quality paint.
Yeah.
And that means that she takes pride in what she does. Because the most expensive thing as a painter that I'm sure Stephanie knows is callbacks.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because then you're not getting paid.
Right.
Callbacks. Why painters would ever use anything but good paint, I never understood, because callbacks will cost you, and they get them. They get them. You're going to get a callback if you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I just got on a real high horse, but that used to aggravate me.
My callbacks are for more work. They already have another paint.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And she knows. She knows. The second I get called back for skipping a corner or using an improper paint or not prepping properly, I've lost all my profit.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Yep.
So that's a good painter for you right there. And you've done a lot of jobs here locally. And it is important to mention, Stephanie's local. She's an LP resident.
Yes.
And you were from what area of Livingston Parish?
Just outside of French Settlement.
There you go. So the kids went to school here. And she supports the community very heavily. You're very involved in, you mentioned Frost, but you're very involved in the schools here and kind of donating your time to different things.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Oh, you're just so nice, Stephanie. You're so kind. But does a lot of things behind the scenes. I know with Leadership Livingston, which is, I was a part of the 2020 class. I leaned on Stephanie. We were doing something for the Livingston Activity Center in Walker. And she was the painter on that job and really just discounted the heck out of her bid to paint that gazebo. She didn't make any money off of it. It was really just paying her people.
Right.
But went out there and pretty much donated her time to paint that gazebo and keep it safe for us because, God, you didn't want us up there on that ladder. Yeah, we weren't the ones you wanted on a ladder, trust me. So Stephanie went up there and her people, and they made that thing look pretty. And so she does a lot for the community outside of just being everybody's favorite painter, right?
Absolutely.
So today we wanted to focus on all of the things that you kind of do outside of that. And we talked about your artistic side of painting. We talked about your faux finishing. We talked about your logos. The last thing I want to talk about is your murals.
Okay.
So, and I used an example earlier, a Mexican restaurant with an Aztec design. People are familiar with that. Do you do a lot of murals? Dane Arnold with iTrade Exchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what iTrade Exchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit iTradeExchange.biz.
I do, and they don't necessarily have to be huge. They can be just small.
Give me an example of that.
Well, I've done, several little paintings, like on a footbridge, but I've also done the big ones too.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing that. It's like, okay, I'm painting a picture now.
Yeah, and where do you see the need for that the most? Is it like restaurants and stuff like that, or do people at their house do murals?
Oh no, they do them at their house too.
Really?
I did one little girl's room. She wanted the tangled design on her wall, so we did that for her on her wall.
Wow, that's cool. I want tangled on my walls.
I can do that.
I don't really. I'm kidding. And it's funny. Look, you want to talk about some time and some intricacy to that. Quick story, kind of depressing, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. Why not? Why not depress people?
Let's go.
But my wife. So my son was a huge dinosaur fanatic when he was younger. Still loves them, but not like he used to. I mean, when he was 12. That was his life, was dinosaurs. And my wife has artistic ability, believe it or not. She just, she's not someone that loves painting. But when she paints, she's pretty good at it, especially with like freehand. So she wanted to do a mural in his room on his walls, and she did. It was dinosaurs, and it was like every dinosaur you could think of, and she had like the volcanoes and stuff. And I'm talking, it was like she did a great job. Took her probably 8 months.
Probably, yes.
To do this to completion. Finished it a week before the flood. It flooded.
Oh no.
Yeah, sucked, man.
Oh
Sucked.
my gosh.
Lost it. I mean, it was just obviously the sheetrock had to come out.
Well,
yeah. And she had spent literally the better part of a year.
Oh, I'd love to see a picture of it.
And it was about, I have to, I know we have pictures somewhere, but it was just, to me, it was like, I felt so bad because there's no way you're going to replicate that.
And the time that you've got in there.
And she's proud of it. And look, I couldn't believe she did it. I thought it was, I was like, wow, man, this is really good. And you know how my mom works. I'm like, you can make money doing this.
Of course.
She's like, no, I'll never do this again. But it was something that, she just loved, and it was something that she could do for my son. And so it was a shame that the flood took that. But I'll tell you, when you mentioned it, made me think of that. So long story short, if I wanted to replicate that, and he's 18 now, so I don't think he would want that, but if I wanted to replicate it, I could call Stephanie and she could have replicated it.
Well, yeah.
As far as that goes. So if you have young children that have a favorite Disney character or something, pick a option. Stephanie can come over there and decorate. Maybe you just want stars on the walls or something. I know that's kind of popular with kids.
It is.
But you do restaurants too. I know a lot of restaurant guys, so maybe I need to mention that to him. Tommy Stojak, and Stephanie can put anything on the walls, because I do notice a lot of restaurants get that done. You've done a lot of work for Big Mike.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, repainted that whole thing.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Saints Room, Stephanie.
Yes, I did the Saints Room. The bar area.
So that's I call her Big Mike's personal painter, and he'll vouch. You go in there, Big Mike has nothing but good things to say about Stephanie. I bring him up because he's obviously an icon here, and so you do great work for him.
I've worked at his house too.
You have. That's right. And look, that tells you kind of work she does. When she did work at his restaurant, he was so impressed with it. He said, "Hey, why don't you come to my house, tighten that up too?" Yeah. So, and like I say, any questions about her kind of work, all you got to do is ask the paint rep that dealt with her for as many years as I did. And that's one of the few that I was comfortable referring. So that should speak volumes about what she does. Last but not least, because we're 50 minutes in.
Oh, wow.
Last but not least, I'll give y'all a story. I had a desk that I was in love with, right? And it was a beautiful desk, and I got it for my office here at the Local Leaders Podcast Studios. And this is going to be my personal desk. I fell in love with it. The problem was it was scratched on the top. On one end of it, it's a double-sided desk, so two people can actually work from it. It's antique. It has leather inlays. It's really nice. But on one end, it was scratched all to hell. Stephanie comes over here, and I said, can you make those scratches disappear? She did it, y'all. I'm telling you, it looked brand new. So it's a process, and I'm not going to let her tell her secrets, but I'll tell you this. She made that sucker look like a brand new desk, and it was scratched up. Not only can she do that, but she can also take a door that is painted and make it look like wood, right? And vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very popular right now because some people have stained doors that have the problem we've talked about, and they're sick of that problem. You can actually still make it look like a stained door, but you're using paint, right?
You're using paint, exactly. So you're less maintenance because it's not as much maintenance as a stained door.
Yes.
And it'll last you longer than a regular stained door.
There you go. Hard to beat. Stephanie, if people want any of these services we talked about, how do they get in touch?
You can look me up on Facebook. I have SR Enterprise Painting.
Yep.
Got a huge gallery on there. You can call or text my cell, 504-432-9284. Or you could just call Jim.
Yeah, there you go. I can definitely get you in touch. So shoot me a message. And look, another thing Stephanie does, she's been a very long supporter since pretty much the beginning of this podcast. She's a sponsor of ours. I know y'all hear her ad every week. You'll hear it during this episode. And so she really gives back. And one of the reasons that we can continue to do this, y'all, what we do, because without those sponsors, we couldn't do it. So thank you very much for that.
Quite welcome.
I do want to thank all of you for listening to Local Leaders, a podcast, for sharing it. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate all of that. I do want to mention LOPA. So LOPA, the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, very, very important charity to us. And in response to kind of what we're doing for them, we teamed up with Real Life, Real Crimes, Woody Overton, and we are giving away, a ton of stuff, Stephanie. One of the things is a whitetail deer hunting trip worth $8,000.
Oh my gosh,
a turkey hunting trip worth $4,000. I'm giving away the biggest Yeti ice chest known to man. I'm also giving away a certificate for a podcast with Local Leaders. It can be transferable to anyone you wish. But there's like 200 other prizes, and all you got to do is buy a raffle ticket. The raffle ticket, they're 10 raffle tickets for $100 or $15 each. There is going to be a QR code on my page, or you can text me or message me, and I'll send it to you, and you can purchase it right through that. And we're doing that drawing at the Crew Bash 3 taking place at the Texas Club the 5th of February. So I'm telling y'all, just check it out and check out the prizes.
You have to be present to win.
You do not have to be present to win. We are going to contact you after if you're not present and tell you that you have won. But they got $500 gift certificates to Idell Lane Spa and Boutique.
Wow.
There's a bunch of other boutiques that are doing $200 and $300 certificates. And this is just off the top of my head. A fishing trip with Captain Calvin Duvall, an offshore fishing trip, completely paid for.
Nice.
A room, everything down in Delacroix, Louisiana, to do a fishing trip there with Captain Calvin Duvall. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're really coming close to the end of this thing. We've got a goal. We want to raise at least $15,000 for LOPA. And Lori Steele and the folks over there do a great job. So please, please, please buy you some raffle tickets. You got a good shot at winning. Hopefully. With all these prizes, I would say everybody that bought will win something, it seems like. But check that out. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman reminding you, love your community, support local business just like SR Enterprise Painting, and keep leading. Thank you very much. William Waldrep of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrep of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.